Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today's project is going to be a glitch. This shirt is turned inside out from the pre-wash. I just left it that way. I don't think it matters if it's inside out or not. I smoothed out as many wrinkles as I could, and then using a washable marker, I mark out the center point. Not a necessary step, but for those of you that watched the live stream, Scott taught us to do that, and I do find it quite helpful. Now I'm just using my yardstick, and the yardstick is 1 inch wide. So that's the size that I'm making my pleats. Now this is the first one that I'm doing on my own without Scott Walker's help. So I thought I would make a tutorial. And the thing that I'm doing differently for those of you that did watch the live stream is I'm not overlapping my pleats like I did during the live streams. I'm just sliding my yardstick up underneath the fabric. I stand it up on its side and sort of pinch it down along the yardstick, and then I roll it backwards, pulling the fabric towards me and laying it right up against the pleat that I had just made. All right, so far so good. That first part, that wasn't too difficult. Keeping in mind that this is the third one that I've made, so I have a better understanding of what is working for me. If it's your very first glitch, this might seem super overwhelming. They're not, and they're actually kind of a lot of fun to make. So what I did there is I just twisted the entire project in front of me, and now we're gonna come at it at the second direction. This one takes 3 steps. So we just did part 1, now we're on to part 2. And I like to start with the sleeve. I've seen other people leave the sleeve out till the very end. For me, starting with the sleeve makes it a lot easier. And then I'm just going to repeat the same process. Using my yardstick to slide up underneath the fabric, stand it up on its side, crease all the pleats down around it, and then roll it and pull the whole thing towards me. Try not to disturb the pleats that you just made. Now this shirt is kind of a larger shirt and it's barely damp, but it was sort of sticking down to the table. Just be easy on yourself and kind of loosen it up a little bit because you don't want to be fighting with your fabric. That's not necessary. And then just work your way all the way till you got it all the way pleated up. Easy, right? All right, that wasn't so bad, was it? All right, now we just got done with part 2. Now we're moving on to part 3. And this time we're gonna come at it on a diagonal. So I just use my washable marker to give my eyes something to concentrate on. Now this part is more like just regular pleating. Like you just scoop up all of that basket weave that you just created and then just scrunch it up like a pleat though. So I did use the yardstick to just sort of help me get a good baseline going. And then once you get it going, it's not that difficult. But this part, this step 3, I would say is the hardest part out of 1, 2, and 3. It's just because it's a lot of folded up fabric and you really want to try to keep that basket weave intact. Now I'm just going to loosely secure it with rubber bands at this point. So for this project, you want to tie it off using Senu. You don't have to. For those of you that remember the live stream, the very first one I did, I only used rubber bands, but I did not have a lot of white lines and there just wasn't a lot of contrast in between the dye colors. So I do recommend using Senu, but if you don't have it, you certainly can use rubber bands. Now this is the Belladonna caddy set, so it's the matching caddy and Senu puller that you can get from Jen and John over at boredomwithjen.com. I do have links down below in the description box for everything that I use for tie-dye, and there is a link that'll take you directly to their website. And then also at the end of the video, if you're watching on a device like a phone or an iPad, there will be a link that'll pop up on the screen. I definitely recommend that you get yourself a Senu puller and matching caddy set. This tool is a complete game changer. It takes less than 1 minute to wind your Senu on it and you just get going, and they come in such amazing colors. Now, like I said, this is the Belladonna, and if you buy this particular model, it's the purple and gold. I think it looks like chartreuse green, but 10% of the proceeds go back into this YouTube channel, my Belladonna Dyes YouTube channel. Okay, now for the Senu work, I'm just tying it off. Let's see, that looks like maybe every inch. I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm wrapping it around 2 or 3 times, and then I'm pulling it really tight, and then I'm wrapping it around again, and I'm pulling it even tighter. I'm really pulling tight on this particular project. Now, I'm not sure if that's the right way or the wrong way to do it, but that's how I made this one, pulling it very tight. I'm trying to break up all of those pleats and create white lines to give it that glitchy effect. When I'm working with my Senu, and for this particular project, it might not matter so much because you want it to kind of be crazy looking. But when I go from Senu line to Senu line, there's what I call a slack line. And I like to try to keep that loose. Now, when you pull on your Senu and it starts to catch on itself, it can become really tight, and it'll pull that slack line tight as well. And you can get a white line that goes from the Senu line and then across the top of your project and then into the next Senu line. I've done that in the past when making other projects, and I didn't understand at the time, like, why is there a white line going from, you know, this point to that point? It's that slack line. So I try to keep it loose as I work. And again, like I said, with this particular project, it almost seems like the crazier the better. So taking the extra time to worry about it on this one might not matter. So that all being said, you can also, after you get your project tied up, go in with scissors and just cut that slack line. I don't know why I don't do that, but that is a possibility if you're concerned. But again, just pay attention to what you're doing, because Senu is a wax covered string and its entire job is to resist the dye. So imagine if you have a white line from point A to point B and it's on there real tight, you run the risk of creating a white line where you don't want it. So just things to keep in mind. But if you're wondering why I keep sticking my finger up underneath that slack line and tugging on it, it's because I'm purposely trying to keep it loose. The next thing I do is using a ruler, I'm going to mark out my dye placement. For this particular project, the dye gets added on like a diagonal line. And for this one, I decided to go pretty extreme with the angle. In the past live streams, I kind of just striped it out a little bit more. So I wanted to see if I would get more dynamic results by making it a very steep diagonal. I hope that makes sense. So now for the fun part, we get to add the dye. And it's my understanding that when choosing your colors for this particular glitch style project, you want the colors to be rather contrasting. And even better, if you can choose colors that are heavy splitters, it's just more bang for your buck. Like the more colors, the better. This one, I'm choosing contrasting colors, but colors that I feel that will complement each other and look pretty together. But, you know, when it comes to choosing your dye colors, pick whatever makes you happy, and just really have fun with it. This is my favorite part of tie-dyeing. I could do without all of the pleating up and all of that. Just give me some shirts to add dye to, and I'm one happy camper. I should also mention I am adding my dye pretty heavy, and when it comes to the Palomino Gold, I'm adding it extra heavy because it's a light color. It dyes very well with ice dyeing, but because it's a lighter color, it kind of can get washed out. You know, there are so many pleats in this particular project, and then I just bound it up really tight with the Senu. So I'm hoping by adding the extra dye, it's going to have better saturation way deep down inside those pleats. And then I just finished off. I started with Teal Blue and I ended with Teal Blue. Next, I give the project a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure, and then I get it all set up. So off camera, I have removed the project very carefully and placed it down inside of a clean gutter that has no dye. And it happened to be snowing when I was making this shirt, so this is a really fun project because not only is it a glitch, it's also a snow dye. So I went outside and I made snowballs, and I put them in my bin here. If you're going to be doing snow dyeing, I definitely recommend making snowballs because it helps the snow melt slower. If it's like loose, fluffy snow, it melts so quickly that you just have to stay on top of your project and constantly add more snow, and it's like super annoying. Snow dyeing is awesome because it's free ice basically, but you know, it's a lot of extra work. And now I'm creating like a snowball dam here out of my silicone cake molds and some clothespins just to try to help keep the snowballs from melting and then rolling off the project. And then yes, down below underneath there is a twofer going on, and we will look at that tomorrow because this video is already rather long. For the setup, I have the shirt down in a gutter, and this is vinyl gutter that I picked up at Lowe's, and then I cut it down into manageable size strips. It's only about 2.5 inches tall. If you can find taller gutter, maybe like 5 inches, I recommend that, but this is just what I have. And then I have it just flat on top of a rack. This project is not on any incline at all, so just totally flat. And then I have my rack propped up with empty dye jars down in there because, as I mentioned, there's another project doing its thing down below. In the event that you do not have snow, you can add your ice. This is just a regular ice dye, just with snow. And then it's recommended that you let your project batch at 70 degrees or higher after your snow or ice melts. And I let this project batch for the full 48 hours. So I set the project aside, I let it do its thing, and as you can see, there was a little bit of undersaturation on the underneath side, but I just left it alone because I wanted to see what would happen. And you guys, wear gloves during this process. I don't know what I was thinking. I just forgot and then it was too late. But my hands were the shade of terracotta for several days, which it's not a big deal, but it's really not very professional looking. Okay, for the rinse out process, you want to start by using cold water. That's going to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric, and then increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. From here, I take it to the washing machine, and I like to do hot water cycles using Kirillon, which is a professional textile detergent. And then I like to do a final hot water cycle using Millsoft, and Millsoft is a professional fabric softener. And I do get both of those from Dharma Trading Company. And yes, you will find the links down below in the description box. It just makes it easy for you to find what you need. Then I'll put the project in the dryer and I'll iron it and then I'll photograph it and all that good jazz. And I really do recommend that you iron your projects, because if you are going to be selling them on Etsy or on your website or whatever, a wrinkled up shirt just doesn't photograph quite as well. Well, here it is, guys. Here's our glitch after it's been washed and dried, and I think the shirt turned out so pretty. I love everything about it. You guys know I don't typically gravitate towards earth tones. I'm really into like the bright colors, like the more neon the better. But there's just something about this particular pattern and these colors together really speak to my eye. Look at all those fun little shapes that just come out of nowhere on this. I'm really digging this pattern, you guys. So it reminds me so much of, I'm not sure exactly what, like Native American weaving or Hispanic weaving, you know, like those blankets. There's just something about it, and I'm loving it. I'm typically really, like, I want things to be in control. All the lines are the same and uniform, and this is so deconstructed and out of my normal realm of thinking, but I love it. And many of you have seen the carpet that I tie-dye on. It's something straight out of like the 60s and the 70s. It has a very sort of similar type pattern. And my whole life I've just grown up around like really outdated like home decor. And I love it. I mean, I'm used to it. There's just something about this particular pattern that just has a lot of nostalgia for me. I can't really explain it. It just does. So I'm in love with this shirt. What do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing.